2, 1. What's up, everybody? It's your boy T. Roy. I am here for a very special episode. Something new that we're doing. It's called Brodies and the Beard. Gang. I'm the Beard. Here the Brodies.
Que lo que?
What's up?
All right,
What's
man.
up?
No gang signs on this joint.
My
bro.
bad.
I'm trying to get sponsorship.
You gonna run those sponsors, Troy?
I don't have any sponsors right now.
We should get Blue Chew to sponsor.
Who?
That would be super dope.
Who?
If we could get Blue Chew.
What is Blue Chew?
What is that?
Blue Chew? We'll talk off camera about that.
Okay.
All right.
But that would be dope.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know.
And
I
if you-
don't really know.
I don't know at
I just
all.
heard people talk
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
So
Sounds lame.
until you need it.
But what is it though? Seriously, you can't just say Blue Chew and then go, "We'll talk about it later."
Blue Chew is a male enhancement.
Real quick, then,
Moving on.
Moving right along.
So I want
You just pumped them up and
Let
they're not
me be
paying us.
completely honest with you guys. This is the second time we've recorded this joint.
Second
Last night we
time.
went for maybe like an hour and a half, and it was straight fire, and the computer straight
No
up
Rona. No Rona.
died, and we lost all the audio. So we're having to redo this again early in the morning on a Sunday. Churches are canceled because of the corona. And so we're here, and we're fellowshipping through this. So real quick, I just want to I'm going to introduce everybody. To my left, your right, middle-ish, whatever, is my homeboy Alex. What's
Technically, I think it would be their left too because they're gonna be watching it, right? So I'm gonna be on the left hand side, right? No, but there's like digital magic.
Are we going to do this the whole time?
No.
No.
Make corrections and stuff.
That's
like
Alex, everybody. To
That's
a T.
Alex. Next to Alex, we have
Korey.
who's going to talk
I
in
am.
a
normal-
nice normal voice and not
Yes.
whisper throughout this whole joint, because we will call him out.
Facts.
And it's only out of love
All love.
and the need for the audio so I can go viral with this joint. Right next to him,
Aamir.
Aamir, aka
Nope.
Smack.
Nope. Aamir, move on. Next.
Why
I got a
can't-
lot
why
of
can't he get his
AKAs.
props?
Because
Next.
no one else can.
Because no one else got theirs. So move on.
Nobody
But
else
that's what
has
he's
any.
known
Next.
Bro, you just called me a nom.
I know, but I don't call you a nom.
You didn't
though.
call me Frost. You didn't call me P. Dilly. None of that.
I don't call you none of
Dilly
that.
Dirty Money.
And I feel like
Dilly
Dilly,
Dirty
I feel like
Money.
Dilly
Dollars.
is a
Dirty
bad
Money.
is
Dilly-
like a
Dilly the
horrible name
Monster.
for a man to call another man.
Dilly the Monster. Hey, bro. You was
bro,
talking about
I'm not
last
calling you
week.
Dilly.
You was
2
talking
days
about
ago,
your
you
pickle
told me your
game
pickle
just 2
game
days
was-
ago,
This
bro.
is why we had the Brodies. All right, and finally on the very end we have
Save the best for last, Alan.
save the best for last, and that's all you got.
Yeah, I was gonna say the song, but what was it? Vanessa Williams.
Bro.
Saving the best for last. There I go.
So one thing about all of us that we have in common is we're all married. Boom,
is true.
boom, game, and we all, except for Alex and Alan being at my wedding, because I didn't know them at the time, we've been at or in each other's wedding. I was in these 3 guys' wedding, and Alan didn't think I was fit enough to be a part of his line.
You
So
you would have thrown off the hue. We talked about this.
wow. Well, they don't know that we talked about this, so we have to talk about this. But what is one thing in marriage that you guys have learned since being married? I literally gave y'all the questions last night, and we did a podcast already, so is no
Right.
reason why.
We want to make sure, we give a crisp, concise, also thought-provoking answer.
So one of the things I've learned as far as marriage goes is that I did not have. I was very legalistic. Still am sometimes. So I always lived in the concept of this is right, this is wrong. Everything was black and white. And since I got married, my wife has opened up my eyes to realize that there are some gray areas sometimes, and that we don't necessarily and in always living in black and white, you don't give the opportunity to give someone grace, because it's justice. Either you do something right and you get something right, or you do something wrong and you get something wrong. And
I need an example.
I'm trying to think of an example, bro. Like, honestly,
Because I think a big part of grace is recognizing that you've offended the standard, yet we're not going to count it against you. So I think even with the black and white piece, it's like just because it's black and white doesn't mean that I can't give you grace because you've offended that standard.
well, part of being legalistic is thinking that you're always right, that you're not doing anything wrong. And then, so I came into the marriage thinking that, hey, we're going to do everything I say because it's everything's right. And dude, it is not. And I realized that sometimes when I messed up, it's like, hey, you have to forgive me. But when Shaka messed up, I always attacked her. And that did not work well with us at all. And I realized that I have to, as much as I ask for grace, I have to also give it.
Fact.
I think one of the things I learned is, or that I found important in marriage, is the importance of expectations. And
Yes.
very often, disappointment is nothing more than unmet expectation. And there are so many expectations that you don't think about or have going into marriage, or that you don't, I should say that you don't express, but there's so many implied expectations.
Yes.
And expectations that I didn't know were expectations until after I got married. Because we went through premarital counseling, and they give you the whole write down all your expectations. And I wrote down a list, and I was like, all right, that's cool. But then when we actually got married, it was like, oh, I actually do have a long list of expectations that aren't being met. And so that's a lot of the, those are a lot of the sort of discussions that we get into about, or even arguments, if that's what you want to call them, in our marriage now. Because it's just expectations that I didn't know that we have. And having kids, the expectations change. And that's the thing that I need to just grow and get better at, is sometimes my wife will give me an expectation. I'm like, cool, that's what you expect of me. That's what I'm going to do. But not recognizing that it can change. And so now having 2 kids, some of her expectation of me has changed, yet there are still times when I have a really funny story. There was we had just had a child. We had our first child. His name is Ezekiel. And my wife wanted me to, we were on the road for a really long time. And when we got home, my wife was like, oh, I'm hungry. Can you get me something to eat? I'm like, cool. I'm gonna go to Subway. So I drove out for 30 minutes looking for a Subway, because we live in rural Pennsylvania and all the Subways are closed. And it was a Sunday. And so I was gone for 30 minutes, and she was at home by herself with he was 3 months old at the time. And so when I got back, I'm thinking, I did all of this driving around finding her Subway. And my wife was like, no, I just needed you here to help me out. I could have had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, because I had learned at that point how to be a husband to my wife, but I didn't know how to be a father and a husband to my wife, because she expected something different of me that I did not meet. So I'm thinking I'm doing a good job just because I'm going out to get her this sandwich, but she would have rather me been home to help her with our son.
Yeah. Part of expectations that I realize is that expectations aren't, my wife can't read my mind, nor can I read my wife's mind. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes, for instance, I'm not sure about y'all, but we'll make a plan, and in my mind, I might change a detail to the plan, and Shaka will go against the change that I made. I'm like, hey, what are you doing? She's like, I'm doing what we talked about. I was like, no, that's not what I meant for us to do. What are you talking about? I wanted us to change this one element. Troy, you never expressed that to me. I thought you would know. And that causes a fight.
And along those same lines, man, something that I found is that and I was talking to Aamir about this, I feel like as men, we often will change we'll change our plan, or we'll change what's going on based on the information that's coming in. Yeah. Whereas our wives kind of seek that consistency and that steadiness, right? They need that, hey, I need to know that if you're going to do this, then this is going to happen. Whereas if I do X because of Y, but then new information causes me to do Z instead, I need to find out a way to communicate to my wife effectively so that she knows we're about to do Z next. Yeah. Right. And I feel like that hasn't been happening. And there's a lot of like, oh, I thought you knew because of this new information that the game plan would change. But often she's like, hey, I don't care. Like, I couldn't care less about that new information. I need the consistency. Yeah. I've had that conversation with my wife a couple of times.
I think one thing I've learned or I've had to learn is to think of us as a team. And that when you're on a team, like everybody's working toward the same goal, it should be. And everyone on the team should be doing what's in the best interest of the team. And so I had to come from I had to always be thinking that my wife was thinking in my best interest, and I was thinking of hers versus thinking that she was doing something on purpose, like that her intention was to hurt me, or her intention was like to do something to, like, I don't know, like to be combative. When and that was just a perspective shift. Yeah. Like, and not to say that she never hurt me after that, or she never did things that I didn't agree with, but just shifting my perspective to thinking like, oh, she's on my team. Yeah. And she's not doing this to sabotage the team. Or that she's doing this on purpose and intention to hurt me. I think that helped me just be more gracious. Yeah. To her. And I needed the grace too. Like you were saying, like the it was easy for me to be like, no, you did that wrong. Like, we don't need to like and make a big deal about the things that she was doing wrong, but then ask for grace and forgiveness when it was on me.
Yeah, bro. I used to think that Shaka was always trying to one up me or trying to prove that she was right about something, and it made me to look at her as my opponent, other than the teammate that's supposed to assist me. Yeah.
You just said that better than I did.
No, you said it. You said it real well.
That was what I wanted to say in a more concise way. But yeah, exactly.
And when I realized that she wasn't out to attack me, it like you said, it shifted my whole perspective on everything. It's like, okay, she did not intentionally do that to make me upset. Now, I ain't gonna lie. There have been some times when somebody did something that, look, I want you to feel the pain that I just now felt when this happened. But after a while, I had to realize, even in those moments, I was like, okay, but even though a person may feel like that in the moment, if we continuously look at each other as opponents that are fighting against each other, eventually we're trying to figure out, we're trying to one up one another and who gets what in the divorce settlement.
Wow. Sheesh. That's crazy.
And I came into the marriage with nothing. So I'm walking out with
nothing. Well, she pay you spousal support.
The only thing I came into the marriage was 2 pieces of paper that said I graduated from something, and that was it.
And to piggyback off of that idea, one of the things that I learned is that, like, the disagreements that you have aren't actually about what you're disagreeing on. Like, it's a deeper root.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
That's the actual cause of the argument. Mm-hmm. Like, so when you in the crib arguing about like which dish soap to use, or the dish soap you bought was too expensive. This is a actual personal story. My wife and I, when we first got married, argued about dish soap. Like, maybe 2 weeks in, and like I grew up using Dawn, right? And my wife grew up just kind of using whatever was cheapest at the grocery store. So like, she brought back like Sun dish detergent. Real talk, and no shot. Like, I don't want to mess up your sponsorships, Troy, but like she brought back Sun dish detergent, and I was like, bro, like we can't use that in here. We gonna have to use a whole bottle to clean these dishes. Yeah. And bro, got into a full like knockdown, drag out fight, and like literally had to recognize like, oh, like when my wife growing up it was different. Like $4 for dish detergent was a lot. Like, that's a lot to spend on money, dish detergent. Mm-hmm. Whereas like for us, it was like, I mean, you know, but that $4 is worth it because you only use a drop and can clean the whole sink of dishes.
And it goes a long way.
Yeah, and it goes a long way. So like, just kind of how you value different things. And I mean, money especially. So I think one, recognizing like we're not actually arguing about dish detergent, we're arguing about money.
Yeah.
And then we're arguing about money because of how we were raised and how our families viewed money, right? So just that was one of the biggest things that even now I still forget, and I'm like, wait, I need to back up. What are we actually talking about right now?
Right. I think a question that I've heard, I can't remember who told me this, but like when you get in those intense times of fellowship with your spouse, or those sanctifying conversations, you ask the question like, what are you fighting for? Because a lot of times, like,
that sounds like Dominique
Alex
Scott.
was saying, I think it was Dominique. Because like, because you'll get into a conversation and you don't understand, like, we're talking, but we're not communicating.
Right.
So then it's like, well, what are we actually fighting for? Like, what are you actually fighting for? Because very often we agree, but like we agree on principle, but it might be the practice that we're arguing over. And a lot of times I don't care. Like I could not care less about the practice, but as long as the principle is the same, then we're good. We can do it however way you want. But very often we'll disagree. We don't understand what we're actually fighting for. So then that it gets lost in the sauce.
Yeah, and just fighting just to be fighting.
Yeah.
A piece that I learned, like going off of that, is just learning how to fight in marriage, and it not being the end of the world. You know what I'm saying? I feel like my wife distinctively told me like one time, like, hey, every time we have a fight, it doesn't mean that I'm trying to divorce you. It's just like we trying to fight. You know, like we gotta get through this disagreement. And I know for me, like my first, and again recognizing what we fighting for and where it lies. I had a lot of insecurity come up when we would fight. Just based on past experience, where I felt like, oh well, she just trying to dip out now. You know what I'm saying? So just learning how to appropriately fight, and along with that, learning how to fight without treating her like she's just some woman off the street.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And her treating me like I'm just some man off the street. You know what I mean? And by that I mean like not trying to hurt your feelings. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
by just saying like, by just saying the most reckless thing just to hurt your feelings, just to quote unquote win the fight. When in all actuality we're losing a piece of our unity. You know what I mean?
You mentioned a few seconds ago your upbringing has come up and you know has caused an impact on your marriage. Question for the group: what was your visuals for marriage prior to getting married? You know what I'm saying? Like, what were your examples that you had? I know for myself, my mother and my father did not marry. They had me when they were teenagers, and my mother did get married when I was like 8 or 9, and then they divorced probably within a year or two or something like that. And that was my experience of marriage. My grandmother was divorced before I was born, or while I was young. I don't really remember. And a lot of other family members, as far as like marriage wise, it really wasn't that healthy. But so what about you guys?
Both my parents were in the household. I think growing up and watching their relationship, I don't know how to put this. There were moments where my parents' relationship, I'll say my parents' relationship now is much healthier and better than it was when we were growing up. Mm-hmm. I think my parents, like I've watched and heard my parents fight before, and I mean I feel like there was a moment where when I was like in elementary school or almost in middle school, like they were sleeping in different bedrooms. So I think
you okay with airing out that laundry on the podcast?
I think so, but I mean, because
his twin over here like I don't know if he should be airing
but it's real though. Like my parents, I think what I saw in that though was that there was still a commitment to each other.
Right.
Like so whatever the disagreement was, they were still committed to one another. Mm-hmm. I know some parents would get in fights and dads would dip. Yeah. Like my dad was just in the other room. Mm-hmm. You feel me? Like so I think that's saying something. Like they never left the house. Right. They was in different rooms, but they were still in that house.
Yeah.
Right. And so like that, I think there was a level of commitment that they had to each other that I don't think I recognized until I got older.
Yeah.
And I saw my friends was like, yeah, man, you know, my parents got divorced. Like my mom would talk a big game, but my mom, they were still trying to work that stuff out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that was kind of what I saw growing up.
You know, I slept on the couch. I know for sure less than 5 times in our going on 10 years of marriage, intentionally. Now, falling asleep on the couch is something different, but like intentionally, I want to be on the couch because I don't want to be next to you, dude. And like the next day, it felt like it's like I'm moving out because it was the anger that I felt in my heart and the fact that I wanted to be separated from my wife, dude. It weighed on me heavy, and sometimes the reason why our fights end very quickly is because I come to the conclusion I don't want to be distant from you.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be close to you.
Yes.
That's growth.
And that joint comes at the sacrifice of your pride.
Yes, sir. You gotta kill it.
Yeah, you gotta kill that joint. Because I mean, I feel like I'm only hurting myself. You know what I'm saying? Like the more I'm distant from you, the more like it's weighing me down. The more like I sense the brokenness.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so, like a lot of times I rush, and my wife has called me out on it. A lot of times I rush to reconciliation without ever having worked through what the issue is, just because I don't want that broken feeling of like, oh, all right, now we mad at each other for this extended period of time. I'm like, no, let's just go ahead and reconcile this joint.
Right.
But that's not always healthy either. So yeah.
Like having to process through the emotions is necessary.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Can I ask a question real quick of the group? A show of hands.
It's your podcast.
How many cats are there? I'm just saying because like I'm not there yet, bro.
Yeah.
I'll still put myself on the couch in a heartbeat, bro. So I was just wondering like how many cats on here are where you are, where it's just like, you know, like you use, and even me like seeking that reconciliation after a fight or what have you. Like, cause
What's the question?
Like how many of you are in a place to where you actively seek reconciliation, without putting yourself on the, like I'm saying that because I seek separation sometimes, where it's just like, oh, I feel hurt or I'm upset at what you did. I'm gonna spend the night on the couch.
Well, go ahead, Korey.
Isolation is absolutely my go-to, like in life, and so it definitely crops up in marriage, and when there's a conflict, I'm isolating, and that is my. Like I'm not trying to reconcile. I'm not like I need to separate myself, and I've put myself on the couch many times because I just don't get there quickly. Like, and a lot of times, sometimes I don't feel like it's on me to do it, which a lot of it absolutely is. Like I need to be taking that active leadership, but yeah, a lot of time like isolation is easier and more comfortable because it's the way I deal with like a lot of things in life. So I would say that I'm not quite there yet.
I mean, I'm a reconciler. Like I said, I'm a reconciler. So like I'm always and I'm not saying that to like boast. Because a lot of times it's begrudgingly. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not doing it necessarily out of a cheerful heart. I'm doing it so that we could just get past
this over with.
Yeah, get this over with. And so, but I'm not an isolator. I hate drawn out. You know what I'm saying? Because it feels like a grudge, and so I hate drawn out arguments. You know what I'm saying? Because it's just going to carry over. You know what I mean? And so, like, I'm always a proponent for, go ahead and seek reconciliation.
Alan, I got something, but I want to give you the opportunity to respond to that question.
Yeah, I think. So I think I've isolated myself, like as far as sleeping in another room twice in our 5 years of marriage. I think I'm very much a reconciler. I don't want to. I remember when we got married, I had a conversation with my wife saying, you know, I want to sleep in the same bed even if we're fighting.
Right.
So like I always make a point to reconcile. So even if we're fighting, it's like, hey, I'm gonna go. And I don't think isolation is bad because I need time to process my thoughts. So I'll say, I can't talk to you right now, or I'm done talking. Give me a couple of minutes. And then I just make sure, it's never a couple of minutes, it's like give me 30 minutes. But then I make sure that I follow up after that and talk to her. And I apologize more than my wife does. So I feel like that's the way I show her the Lord is by apologizing, even when I've not done anything wrong. And I know that I've done anything wrong. But the way in which... Like, but I apologize because...
To you didn't do anything wrong.
No, I know I didn't do anything wrong.
I'm going to keep it a stack. There are instances where it was like, I didn't do anything wrong. but you got offended.
Yes.
And so now I have to seek reconciliation.
Well, it kind of goes back to
that was me.
It was you yesterday. It was saying that the intention may not to have hurt a person, but you may have still hurt somebody.
Yes, but so there are times in which I've done nothing wrong. My wife has.
This is all being put online too. Just let you know. Okay.
Oh, my wife doesn't care. I can air our dirty laundry. I'm pretty sure she wouldn't care at all.
All right. Yeah.
So
I don't want to see no
my wife
streaks.
will, and she knows I love her to pieces. So my wife will give me some negative energy. So then it's like, well, I'm just giving you what you gave me, right? So in the
keep that same energy.
yeah. So it's like in a sense, I have not done. I was not out. Like I was trying to have a conversation. I was then provoked. So then it was like you were poking a bear. The bear bit you, and now you're mad that you got bit. So it's like I understand like why you're upset, and I apologize, and I'll still apologize for it. Because I'm not apologizing to hear my wife apologize to me. I'm apologizing because I know I've broken my wife's heart. I've hurt her in some way, whether it was intentional or not. But in order to reconcile, like in order for us to continue to have a fellowship together, I need to apologize.
Yeah.
Even though she's in the wrong, like she was the one who was wrong. I'm still going to apologize, even though you would normally, or I believe in most relationships, you'd be like, well, I did nothing wrong. She needs to apologize to me.
One of the things that I learned early in marriage is that even when I feel like I'm 99.999% right in this matter, I still have to approach my wife and apologize for that 0.0001.
Facts. And sometimes it be like sometimes when I reconcile in those feelings where I feel like I'm not doing nothing wrong, I won't apologize for what she said I did wrong. I'll apologize for what I feel I did wrong. So it's like, hey, I apologize. I shouldn't have raised my voice.
Yes.
But I'm still, right. I'm still mad at
like how you approach the situation.
Yeah. I'm mad at how I approached it. I'm not mad at the fact that I got upset with what you did.
Right.
I apologize
Agreed.
that I raised my voice at you.
Mine is the same way. So it'll be like, I'm sorry that I'm sorry I raised my voice.
Right.
But it's not. I'm not sorry for anything, and I don't be talking sideways. Like I said, I probably done talk sideways to my wife twice in our marriage, but or I laid into her. But but like but there were times in which I've had a conversation and I've gotten upset, and it would be my wife would be and my wife doesn't do it often, but there'll be times in which she gets angry and so then it's like, all right, then I get frustrated. So it's like, then I'm apologizing for raising my voice. I'm not apologizing for anything else. It's like, hey, I'm sorry for the way I approached this situation. Yeah. Because I should have shown more grace, more patience, and things like that. So I'm sorry for not doing it in that moment. Right. But it ain't like
you were still wrong.
Yeah, but you were in the wrong.
Sometimes I find myself sometimes I find myself that I don't take my wife's opinion into consideration. Like I make a decision for the both of us, and it's not that the decision that I made was wrong, is that I didn't take out the time to consider what her thoughts were on the matter.
I do that often, but in my defense, I feel like I do that because my wife's personality is that she considers the opinions of everyone. So if I stop to get her opinion, it's not Connie's opinion. It's Connie's opinion and anyone else who may be impacted by it, right? Whereas, like, I want to make a decision for our family, not for.
I got you.
You see what I'm saying? So oftentimes I'm like, no, like I have a feeling like I know where she's gonna go with something because. At this point, I feel like I know my wife well enough. And granted, I'm not saying that's right at all. I should still get her opinion. But sometimes when I feel like I don't want to consider how a decision that will impact our family will impact other parties. Right?
Yeah. So
there are moments where I actively, like, I'll make the conscious decision, like, not to seek the opinion.
Family over everything, bro.
Yeah, because I know the opinion will be, well, what about this and what about that and what about, and it's like, this ain't about them. Like, this is about us.
Yeah. Korey, what you gonna say?
I completely forgot.
Korey, I need for you to be mentally tapped in, bro, gang. because I feel like
Oh yeah. So no, I was just gonna ask a question. So in gathering the opinion, are you obligated to? It's like, thank you for your opinion. I'm still gonna make this decision. Are you obligated to still like take into like when you say take into consideration, does that mean like now we need to find a compromise in our opinions, or I'm just taking your opinion because I want to give you the opportunity to say what you
could
feel?
be any of those things, bro. Because
Situational.
it's
man.
situational. For me specifically, Shaka wants to be heard. That's the first thing, and then it may cause for us to do something better than what I even intended to
Absolutely.
do. And so I'm like, oh, that's a really good idea. Like, you're kind of dope. I married you for a reason. You know what I'm saying?
Facts, bro. I have that
Facts.
revelation
Super
so
facts.
many times. It was like, that's why I married you.
Right, because you make
You
me
get to
better.
enhance some stuff.
You upgrade me.
Right, upgrade.
And
man.
and sometimes it just allows for us to have a discussion, which is one of the things that I know my wife has asked for us to do more often, is to go deep into our conversations instead of being surface. And part of that is us actually talking deep about some tough topics, you know what I'm saying, and taking the time out to actually discuss it. And other times it is or as a submission to her and her opinion, because this will be better for us. Sometimes I make the decisions like, okay, I won't benefit from this, but we will benefit from this.
Right.
And so we're gonna go with that. And majority of the time we benefit from it if she's kept happy. But I'll be honest with you, sometimes I've had to sacrifice that happiness, because the happiness for her happiness, because in the moment it feels as if that's right, but in longevity it doesn't necessarily pan out well for us. And so yeah.
My wife does not consider my opinion. So that's sort of a point of contention that we have in our conversation.
I'm probably gonna edit this part out.
Right, bro.
No, because no.
That
You're not about to bang
wasn't
on
the
your-
No,
last
I'm not
thought
about
we
to bang.
needed.
I'm not about
bro.
to bang because my wife has an incredibly independent spirit, and that's part of the reason I married her. But it leads to, because of like what you said, a lot of times, because of my wife's independent spirit, she can make a decision without considering the effect. I feel like part of my role is to exercise vision for the family. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of times she'll be thinking like, what is the best possible like solution in this instance, but not necessarily thinking about how it will affect our family.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's just sort of a thing that I still talk to my wife about often, is like, hey, can you consider me next time? Like, I understand you made that decision, but can you consider me next time? It's a lot of
You know what?
our
That's
conversation.
it's really valid, because I feel like that's what my wife also says to me. You know, saying, I know you made this decision, but consider me next time. Case in point, and this actually set the tone for the first probably 5 years of our marriage. I made the decision to take a leadership position at church. Without telling her. I had a revelation from the Lord, and I was like, I'm going directly to the pastor and let him know, or her know, or the leadership at that time, to let them know that I am going to take over this position, you know, at a voluntary position. I wasn't getting paid anyway. So I came home celebratory, like, babe, guess what I did today? I took on this new role at church. And she was like, why would you do that? Why didn't we talk about this? I didn't even know that was a thing. And then, kind of going back earlier, what we was talking about, she made an assumption that because I volunteered to take on this role, that she too had to take on another position too. And so that take on the role beside me. And so that caused anxiety for her. And then from that moment after that, the rest of our marriage, she had she was not content. She was contempt. Is that meaning I don't feel good about? She didn't feel good
Right.
about a lot of decisions that I made without consulting her. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, contempt. Like if she showed contempt,
she was in contempt.
for it. That,
In
like,
contempt.
No, that's
no,
a court.
you can show
That's a
contempt for something, and it's like a deep disdain.
Yeah, and I said it right.
Yeah, you had it.
Spell guarantee, Alex.
No. Actually, yes. I'll spell it. GUARANTEE.
You got it.
Guaranteed.
Hold on, make sure it's not 2 T's in that joint.
There's not two
No,
T's,
it's-
Troy.
Okay.
I got it.
Aamir, kick us off, man. Tell us one thing that adore your wife.
Yes. So my wife, like I said, I gave another reference, but I'm not going to use that reference. I'm going to go to my second reference. My wife is like my Beyonce, and I don't mean that in the sense that I'm Jay-Z. I mean that in the sense that she's Beyonce, and I'm this dude that she upgraded. Like we're from completely different sides of the tracks, and so a lot of and God has used her in this sense. I come from a very lack or less than mentality, just because I didn't have it, you know what I'm saying, growing up. But she wasn't wealthy, but she had a lot more privileges than I did. And so God has been using her to kind of bring me into the sense that, hey, like I'm okay with blessing you, you know what I'm saying? Like it's okay to have good things, which she says to me often. It's okay for us to have nice things.
My wife taught me the exact same thing too, bro.
Yeah, bro. But she upgrades me, and not just in a materialistic way, but she upgrades me like spiritually, mentally, emotionally. Like she calls the greater out of me. Like and sometimes it's in unintentional ways. It's in inadvertent ways. Like when she expresses a need that she has, she's not expressing that to me. And I think I like encourage Korey in this too. Like she's not expressing that to me just to express it to me. She's expressing it to me because she believes that I'm able to meet that need. You know what I'm saying? And so like it has called me to be a better man, a better father, a better husband. And so even though she's not good at words of affirmation, I'm affirmed by her trust in me to be her husband.
Got you. Yeah.
And to be the father of our children.
Alan, you didn't get a chance to even mention your wife last night, and so one thing I want to tell everybody who's watching is that yes, we talked this long time of the conflict that we deal with in our marriage, but overall that stuff doesn't equal up to the goodness of the stuff going through in our marriage. And the reason why we even shared about the stuff that we're going through is so that we can connect with someone who may be in that same situation. And then get encouragement from that, and maybe even some direction of how someone else was successful through that time, and challenge one another. As we mentioned earlier, we were talking about the sleeping on the couch thing. Like people are being challenged in that right now, so that moving forward is like maybe I can strive the way my brother has. So we didn't just bang on our wives. It was an opportunity for us because we as men, we don't get an opportunity to get our stuff out as much. You know what I'm saying? We don't process. We're not emotional creatures. And I'm not saying having emotions is wrong, but we don't get a chance to emote like how we feel outwardly. Huh?
Outside of anger.
Yeah. And this is a safe place where we can share with one another. And then afterwards, we're going to tell each other, go home and love your wife. We're not going to encourage one another. Oh yeah, bro. So I got this one lawyer that's going to make sure you get all your stuff back. Like we're not going to do that. And even if y'all were to say something like, hey man, I need to come to your house and stay the night because we fighting. Hey bro, you got to go back home. Now, if something physically or somebody, was in danger or something, like, yeah, you need to come back over here, cool down, but eventually you going back to the crib because we fighting for this marriage together as men. So just want to give that little caveat. All right, go ahead, Alan. I'm sorry.
Yeah, my wife, Kenesha, she is a superstar. I absolutely love her immensely. She is an incredible feeler. She has an amazing heart in that she can feel deeply, and she also allows me the opportunity to feel. She can sense how others are feeling. She cares deeply for people. And I think it pushes me a lot because I'm not a feeler, for one. And so she's caused me to feel for sure. I think she also, she's a go-getter. Like I talked about her independent spirit as if I was banging on her. That was part of the reason I married her. And so she gets so much done, and she helps me out in so many different ways. A lot of what Aamir was saying, just how she's upgraded me. She's allowed me to be the man that God has ultimately called me to be. Mm-hmm. And she fills in so many gaps and blind spots that I would not see and that I have, that I know I have. And she just always pushes me to be a better man and a better father, because that's who she sees me as. And I think one of the most important things about my wife, and I think it's true for all of us, is like she sees the man that I'm supposed to be, not the man that I am. Mm-hmm. And it's not one of those potential things. Mm-hmm. Like it's not like she sees my potential. Like she actually sees it and has an immense ability to actually pull it out of me. Yeah. So it is unbelievable. And I love my wife so much. It sounds like I was banging on her, and sometimes I do.
Yeah, I'm editing that last part out.
No, she deserves it sometimes. And she knows it. Because she bangs on me too. She calls me raggedy. So, but
it's all out of love.
It is. It's love, and I love my wife, and she knows I love her. I'd murder somebody for her in a heartbeat.
Yeah, bro. That's when I knew I loved my wife. Alex, you mentioned that last night.
Yes, bro.
I knew I loved my wife when I said I will kill somebody.
I would kill thousands, bro. Thousands from my wife.
For my wife.
Thousands.
Come at my wife and you getting, bro.
No question.
I told my wife I'd hide the body and everything.
Yeah.
I wouldn't need to hide the body.
Actually, I would probably kill somebody and then I'd turn myself in.
Absolutely not.
Right.
I'd hide the body.
I killed him.
Right. I killed.
Right.
Yeah, them thousands, they're dead now. You feel me? I'd be on my David, bro, getting foreskins and everything.
Hey, bro, that's a little bit too much. That's a little bit too much. All right, so jump ball, Alex Korey.
Let me clarify that. That's a biblical reference for those of you who aren't Christian.
Wow.
David, in order to David collected foreskins in order to marry. How many did he have to? It was like 200 foreskins.
No, that was Samson.
No, that was Samson, bro.
That was Samson.
Collected the foreskins, bro.
Yeah. No, David did too, didn't he?
No, he didn't.
That wasn't David.
You were wrong.
No, I don't think
on another guarantee.
That was David. Now I have to look it up.
No, go ahead and talk.
I'm sorry.
Look it up and go ahead and talk about your wife.
He did have to start. Okay. Anyway, man, my wife is amazing, man.
Your wife's name?
My wife is Connie, Constance.
It was David.
Say it louder, bro.
It was David.
Thank you.
Oh.
I was about to bang on my brother because he works at a Christian sports camp.
Samson collected foreskins as well.
Yeah, but not to get married, bro. I think
he did the joint just out of vengeance.
Right.
Yeah, he collected Philistine foreskins. 200. Go ahead.
Anyway, read your Bible, ladies and gentlemen. This is very, very
Every
interesting
day.
stuff.
This is an odd.
That's
an odd reference to bring up.
Anyway,
talk about your wife, bro.
Yes, let me talk about my wife. So man, my wife is amazing. She is the straw that stirs the drink. Like none of what we are doing would be possible without her, and I recognize that every day. Like I get frustrated because like my wife makes my life so easy that sometimes I get frustrated that it's not easier because of how easy she makes everything happen in our life. Like literally stuff like I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my wife. Right. And so, and I said this yesterday and I'll say it again. Like I'm a very big ego driven person. Like I love everything about me. Like there ain't a single thing I don't like. And I think I'm the dopest person on the planet. But when I look at my wife, I recognize how not dope I am, right? Because of how dope she is. And it's something that I don't know the best way to convey that to her. So I hope she listens to this podcast because she is one incredible individual. I think everybody recognizes that. And I want her to recognize it more in herself because, bro, it's like, bro, in Dragon Ball Z, like if we fuse, bro, on that joint with our dopeness, bro, we can kill Buu and everything. You feel me? We'll defeat Majin Buu without questions, bro. So yeah, like it's one of those things where like her power, it's like Gohan, bro. Her power level is through the roof, but she just don't know it yet.
It's over.
She need to tap into it. Yeah. her power level is through the roof. So I want to see her walk in that joint more.
Brother Korey.
My wife is a treasure. Like there's
Who's your wife?
so. Her name is Alicia. Yes. There's so much inside of her. Like I am amazed all the time at how many things she's good at, or just like it just oozes out of her like with effortlessly, that her mind, like the way her mind works, and how detail oriented she is. I said this yesterday, like I tend to be broad strokes, big vision, big picture, a little impulsive. And my wife helps me slow down and be cautious. I was thinking as people were talking, but I honestly believe that my wife has saved my life, and continues to save my life, because of the way that she has changed my perspective and allows me to think in a different way. And I think in the beginning of our marriage, like it was frustrating for me because I felt like she was like sucking the fun out of everything. It's like, why are we even thinking about this? But there are things that there's things that she has done and steps that she's taken that have literally saved like our life, because of her. She's always thinking like 100 steps ahead. And I'm like, oh, we just gotta, like, there's some steps, like, let's walk up them. So I really, really appreciate that about her. She's brought so much balance to my life. I would not be where I am, if it wasn't for her. She also pulls a lot out of me. Like I tend to try to play the background, but my wife does not allow me to do that. And I think it helps me become the man that I believe that God wants me to be, and absolutely the man that she sees me as. Like Alan was saying, it's crazy to me how I can get really stuck in like who I think I am, but my wife, like, it's not my potential. Like she really does like see me that way, and that's a blessing. It is a huge blessing. She's my biggest cheerleader. She supports me 1,000%, and gives me a lot of space to be who God has called me to be. So I really appreciate that about her. She's also fine AF. Can I say that on the
You took us down this long sentimental road, and then you just
I did. She's beautiful. And God, like she, I bring this up because Troy actually sent me an email before my wife and I started dating, which in different spaces in my life, this email has impacted me in different ways. But essentially, it was like, whoever plans to date Alicia at the time, Carol, you need to get your life together and make sure that you are not playing with her, because she is God's like vessel. Like there's a lot on the inside of her, and you need to. And it was like a cautionary email. And at the time, he said he didn't even know.
I didn't even know you were trying to talk to her.
Yeah, yep. But I read that email. I was like, this is tough. But I believe that wholeheartedly. My wife is such a powerhouse of just like God did a special thing when he made her. And I'm in awe all the time of that fact that God, like, he has deposited so much treasure in her, and I'm too can't wait. Like I'm just waiting for her to power up and launch out, because she has so much to give, and she's gonna change the world. I believe that.
So appreciate you guys sharing about this. Now I have to go ahead and share about my wifey, Shaka, aka Tyree, aka I can't say the rest of the names online because she gets embarrassed. But for her, Shaka is the ultimate sacrificer. Like, and I see it in so many different ways. Like, she will sacrifice her time to make sure, like, for instance, she knows she needs to be going to bed at 1:00 in the morning, but she's continuously doing work, and then instead of going directly to bed, like, she'll like, okay, what can I do to prepare Troy for tomorrow? And she'll spend an extra 30-45 minutes to do that while I'm upstairs in third heaven, knocked out. Like I went to sleep a long time ago. So she does stuff like that, man, and she always puts me before her. And sometimes I'm like, hey, quit doing that because I want you to benefit too. But she oftentimes puts myself before her, and I'm really thankful for that. As of lately, man, we have been clicking on levels that I can't even imagine. Like our friendship has been ridiculous, and like just looking at, have y'all ever looked at y'all's wives and just smiled and like, dang, how in the world did I make this happen? Dude, it's
I'll kick the coverage.
it's crazy, bro. And I look at her and she just like she's not even doing anything, and like her beauty just blows me away. And in that moment, I say to myself, I will kill somebody. Like literally, I will kill somebody for her if they try to mess this up. But anyway, like she's very loving, man. She's very, very sacrificial. And her endurance is amazing. Like just watching her, like the things she balances so much. Like she's doing school, she's doing work, she's coming home, she's doing things at the house, she's participating at church. Like she balances so much. And just the fact that she's able to do that and still be Superwoman and love me at the same time, dude, it's amazing. It's amazing. We're going to cut off right there. Thank you guys so much for coming and being part of the first Brodies and the Beard.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having us, man.
I hope that y'all will be willing to do this again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Not for free.
Well, if I get sponsorship, I'll break you
Blue
off.
Blue Chew, we're out here. Let us know. We got you.
We got you. I've never, even if y'all just want to give us samples for us.
I would
to
love
use,
a sample, actually.
I'd take a sample.
Guess is going hard.
would.
I appreciate it.
Bro,
No, thank you, Troy.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. And then
You've meant a lot to all of our lives, and so I'm thankful to have this opportunity to actually just sit
Troy's
down
kind of
and-
like our grandpa, and
Oh my god.
Not grandpa.
Troy's old.
wow.
You're like the big brother I never wanted.
I'm 36. Who's the closest?
Me.
You're 32. Okay.
I'm the farthest away. I do know that.
You're not 30.
He's 29.
Not-
Are you serious, Korey?
That's
crazy.
I'm not 30.
But Korey been 29 for like 10 years.
He
bro.
kind of has.
I'll be 30 in 3 months.
Let me also do this real quick. I know it's 10:45. We gotta get out of here in 15 minutes. This is gonna take me 3 minutes. I promise. I'm done. Let me words of affirmation. Korey, you have came a long way, bro. Gang.
Come a long way.
You come a long way. And I'm not saying you came a long way like you were some trash back in the day. You are lame, but not trash. And you have come a long way, bro. You have come out of your shell. You have experienced it. Korey even admits that he was lame. All right, never mind. Maybe not.
Keep going.
But
keep going.
dude, who you've come. The thing that amazes me the most, and I appreciate the most about you, is that you have become. You've gotten to a point where you found your voice and you're expressing yourself. Whereas I feel like you battled emotionally for so long and you never been able to come out and just like say, this is how I feel. And so I think you've come a long way, bro. And the fact that you found strength in your voice and you've been using that. Boom, roasted. Aamir, I'm going to try to say less so I don't necessarily start crying. But for you, first of all, you're my favorite rapper. You're my favorite rapper, and my favorite spoken word artist too.
Super.
And
facts.
I don't even like spoken word,
facts.
even though I do spoken word. You're my favorite spoken word artist, bro.
Absolutely.
Game,
Nobody's seeing them.
dude. I've seen you go from a boy to a man, dude.
Stop, Troy.
I've seen you go from a boy to a man, and it has been very encouraging. You talk about a faith booster, dude. If I ever lose my faith, I can look at you and my faith is right back, bro. Just because how faithful you've been. I know the other night you were sharing about the Pittsburgh journey that God had you on, and dude, you sharing about that, dude. You showing that faith, I said to myself, I don't know if I have that same type of faith. I don't know if I have that same type of faith. And I'm so thankful that the Lord is blessing you on this new journey that you're about to go on, and I pray that He does just amazing things for you, Brother Allen.
Save it, Troy.
You allowed me to be real and sarcastic at the same time. And but I'm gonna tell you why that's important, because you showed me that one, I'm not that sweet. You tell me that regularly. And two, we shouldn't take life so seriously. And then on the flip side, you showed me some things in life we do need to take very, very seriously. You are a true teacher. And I hope that you get the opportunity to continue to teach. And I'm praying that with your two sons, man, I'm super duper excited for Ezekiel and Moses. Did I say
There you go.
right? Okay.
You had it.
I'm super duper excited for that because I know that you're going to train them up to be awesome men, bro. It's crazy. Alex. All right, so Alex challenges me to fellowship. And I appreciate that, bro. Like I literally, when you said, Troy, come to Richmond, I was like, all right. Like, and I made attempts to come to Richmond just so I can just so we could be together. You know what I'm saying? And one thing I want to encourage you, bro, and you need to know this. You have leadership ability. You've been seeing glimpses of it on your job. And I think also too, man, you're meant to lead millions. Yeah.
I know.
All right. It's okay.
I know how dope I am, bro. Like, don't get it. Bro, I used to have dreams of being MLK, bro. Like, I'm like, no doubt, bro. I'm about to be the next MLK. Like,
man.
no,
Goodness.
like without the adultery.
like oh my gosh.
What you like?
My God.
You will not.
So
I'm sorry, MLK.
This has been our podcast of first podcast of Brodies and the Beard. I hope that you all appreciate it. This your boy Troy signing out.
It's been a blast, man.
That was good.
That's hilarious.
That was good. I'm glad we redid it because it allowed us to have that moment that we just now had. Because I don't think we would have had it last night.
Thanks, bro. You made me cry and everything.
I know. I was going for it.
Yeah, man.
I had to make a joke so that